If I told you that 51 women were found dead, all from the same cause, with half of them being within the same 10-mile radius, and a vast majority of them happening within a 10-year span, you might think that we're talking about a serial killer.
Right.
But the Chicago police say there's no solid evidence for that. Now, if you think 10 years is too much time to pin this all on one person, let me refer you to Joseph James D'Angelo, also known as the Golden State Killer, who was active from 1976 to 1986, and it would take another 32 years after he last struck for him to finally be arrested.
That's
now,
crazy,
the Chicago police
How
had 32
did he look when he
years
was
after he
arrested?
last struck for him to finally be
Damn. He was old in a wheelchair when they finally
arrested.
him.
Now, the Chicago police have been historically,
Jesus.
I don't want
Bad.
to sound cliche because it's just become so common to call the police corrupt, and obviously all police are not the same, but Chicago is a special place. I remember when I was in high school, the Chicago police popped up on my block, and while I was walking out of the door, they pushed past me to look for one of my friends inside of my house, and I said, "Hey, you can't search my house, you don't have a warrant." And the cop said, quote,
I don't give a fuck.
so around the time the first 5 women were found in 2001, 2 in a vacant lot, 2 inside of apartment building.
No, I ain't gonna lie. Chicago police, don't get me wrong, police everywhere crazy, folks. But Chicago police, damn, it's an echo in here. I'm moving, so it ain't nothing in here, gang, but it's crazy. But Chicago police, folks, I'm telling you right now, gang, they crazy, folks.
And one behind a clothing store.
They do what they
a police
want.
sergeant in Chicago was indicted for operating a gang that would raid drug houses, then resell the contraband they found on the streets. This same
That's
sergeant
crazy.
then proceeded to go on the run successfully for 15 years. Shortly after, a nurse witnessed a police car crash, so she rushed over to help the 2 cops out of the vehicle, but when she went down to the police station to give a statement, they forced her to sign another statement, falsely claiming that she stole one of their service weapons, and she was sentenced to 10 months in jail for the crime of saving 2 police officers. Good thing for her, after nearly a year, her charges were dismissed and she was awarded nearly $8 million.
$8 million.
And a few months before this,
Damn.
a woman called the police to make a noise complaint. Then she walked outside to find a group of men beating up some teenagers. So she asked who they were, and of course they just punched her in the face. And when she threatened to call the police, the group of men stated that they were the police. And they actually were the Chicago police.
Oh
so
my
this is
God.
the state the Chicago police were in when the Chicago
This is not like nothing that's like surprising to me, folks. Like on bro grade, Chicago police been like this, folks. This is what they do. This is what they do. I know police do this everywhere. Don't get me wrong, but this is what they do, folks. Bro Graves, like.
Strangler first struck. Body cams were still a distant dream of the future, and the police pretty much ran the streets selling drugs and having their way. Now, despite the fact that for over a decade, several women were found in just 3 of the 22 police districts, the Chicago police say there are no links between any of these murders. And as a result, a pattern wasn't announced until the Murder Accountability Project came about, when Thomas K. Hargrove, a journalist, created an algorithm that uses FBI data in order to identify clusters of murders with a high probability of identifying serial killers. And this
Right.
algorithm actually helped police in Indiana
That's
identify
crazy.
a man who would later confess to 6 murders very similar to the ones that took place in Chicago. And Hargrove's team isn't just a group of journalists. It consists of a team of forensic experts
Scientists
and
and
former
shit, yeah.
detectives. And the board of directors even includes a former FBI special agent. Now, 51
crazy.
is a very high number to associate
And I ain't
with
gonna. I want to put y'all on to some of the easiest money you'll ever make in your life. Freecast.com is a website that allows you to literally get paid hundreds of dollars just for playing video games on your phone. All you need is an email and a password. Follow the directions on each of the campaigns, and you can earn at least $100. My personal favorite game to play was Sunrise Island, and when I clicked on it, they had a $370 bonus. I got $370 just for playing a video game on my phone. On average, it only takes about 17 minutes for most people to start earning money on freecash.com. So if you need some free, easy, extra money, go to freecash.com, click the QR code right here, or go in the description below and start getting that bag. You did? It's been serial killers in Chicago. For some reason, they just don't talk about it. They always talk about the gang killers and, like, you know what I'm saying, everybody who gang with it and savage with it, and you know what I'm saying, they talk about the gangsters that's out here unaliving people, the King Vons, the Lil Jeffs, but it's been serial killers. I don't know if y'all remember in Chicago when they had the clowns. I was in elementary school when it was like the killer clowns riding around in the van, really like taking kids and like doing shit to them, bro. Like I'm telling you.
Just one person. But as Hargrove once said, if you leave a killer walking the streets, the killing goes on. And the group even filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit against the Illinois State Police because they were no longer reporting homicide data to the FBI. And if all of this sounds unusual for a local government, you must not be familiar with the state of Illinois. In just a 6-year span, Illinois had 2 governors sent to prison for corruption and fraud, 3 aldermen, 1 mayor, and 1 state representative. And this was just in the early...
Look at that shit. Let me see. Alderman. I don't know the aldermen. Let me see. The governor. I know about dude at the top, Rob Blavakovich. I know about him. I don't even know who George Ryan is. These was like when I was young as hell and shit. But yeah, he went to jail for trying to basically, I think he sold his seat as governor. He sold it for like millions or something like that.
And fraud, 3 aldermen, 1 mayor, and 1 state representative. And this was just in the early 2000s. The list actually gets longer every decade. And this underreporting and also the lack of reporting altogether isn't just a Chicago thing. According to the Murder Accountability Project,
police departments failed to report nearly 3,000 homicides in 2018. I'm not surprised because, you know, especially in places like LA, Miami, they gonna tell you the murder rate high, but they gonna... Let's not include a few of those homicides in the reporting. Let's just keep it away so it looks safer than it really is. You know what I'm saying?
Using data from the Uniform Crime Report, which is a voluntary reporting program administered by the FBI, and the CDC, which is a primary source for homicide data in the U.S., it was found that in 2018, which was the last year the Strangler was allegedly known to be active, nearly 3,000 homicides were not reported by the police. And from 2000 to 2018, which is all within the timeline the Chicago cases took place outside of 1 year, the U.S. had over 36,000 homicides that went unreported. Now, part of the reason the Chicago police don't want to consider this to be the act of one man might have something to do with the Southside Strangler cases from the 90s and the early 2000s. And this is when multiple serial killers were active in Chicago at the exact same time, including 2 men in the same neighborhood. One from 1993 to 99 that counted 11 victims, and the other from 1994 to 1995 with 5 victims. 29 women, all on one side of the city from 1993 to 2000. And this led to the media creating the name Southside Strangler, initially believing that this was all the work of one man. And this definitely confuses things. Could there have been multiple stranglers at once again? And if so, why wouldn't the Chicago police announce something like this? Just growing up there, I can say with confidence that it is the perfect place for a serial killer to thrive, and just the perfect place to get away with crime in general. From thieves and murderers to politicians accepting bribes and extorting people with impunity. It makes sense why they filmed all those Batman movies here. This definitely is the real Gotham City.
No cap, Chicago to Gotham. I'm telling you, gang, like, that's why... That's the real reason why you hear, like, and then the problem is, like, okay, let me put it out. You hear these Lil Jeffs, these King Vons, you hear all these people catching bodies and getting away with it in Chicago, because that shit's normal, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, everybody from the hood, if you went to school in Chicago, you went to one of the bigger schools in Iraq, you know some niggas that killed somebody or that got killed. You know what I'm saying? And you know who did it 9 times out of 10. You know, they know, we know, she know, he know, but they never got arrested. They never do get arrested for it. Usually they end up getting killed first. You know what I'm saying? But like these other niggas is in these other cities. They trying to do the same thing as the Chicago niggas, and it's not working. Because y'all police is on your New York, perfect example. Y'all trying to get on live and chase the ops and get in the songs and rap about the bodies and you trying to do all that shit. Like New York police ain't Chicago police. That's why y'all ass getting arrested.
Ladies and gentlemen,
do your homework.
We have a governor that legalized weed, while he and another one of the richest families in Chicago are major shareholders in the companies that distribute to the dispensaries, creating something the media calls the Chicago cartel, meaning that these guys can control the prices. We had a made man, a part of the mob in Chicago that served as a state senator and alderman for 24 years, and he definitely wasn't the only one, as well as police officers involved in multiple crimes, including robbing civilians. My guess is that due to the fact that all these murders were taking place in areas where murder is already happening, the city is not worried about connecting the dots.
Exactly. That's what it really is. And that's why I'm telling you about Chicago for real. If the only reason that they found they caught them O Block niggas is because they did that shit downtown. And that was the stupidest thing they could have did, because I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. If they would have unalived duck anywhere else in the city but downtown, or the north side, if they would unalive duck on Lakeshore Drive, if they would, well, no, maybe. If they would unalive duck in the hood, folk, if they would unalive duck anywhere close to where he used to be at, where the block was, you know what I'm saying? And the police would have pulled up to the call for the shots. They would have seen it was duck. They would have probably laughed, joked a little bit, called the ambulance get there late. He passed away, and the old block 6 niggas would still be out dissing him. I'm telling you right now. Them old block niggas would still be out of jail, dissing duck with ducks on their feet, duck quack quack and all. They would have been going crazy. You feel me? It was only because they did it in front of the Fendi store. That's why they got caught. You see what I'm saying? I promise y'all, gang. So if you was think about it, and I ain't trying to put no, I don't know if I want to say this, but take what I'm saying with, you know, if you did want to unalive people because you was some crazy, just weirdo brain, big goddamn Jeffrey Dahmer type nigga, you feel me? Chicago is it would make sense, right? And then you go to the hood and do it. So the Chicago police like, oh, it's just another murder in the south side. Add it to the toll. We ain't gonna look for them niggas, you know?
As these things happening, like that, don't do anything to disrupt the revenue that Chicago brings in. When FBG Duck, a rapper, was killed downtown in the Gold Coast, surrounded by multi-million-dollar properties and billion-dollar enterprises, the FBI stepped in and caught the getaway car on every camera over the 11-mile drive it took from Oak Street to Parkway Gardens. If they could do that, then this must be an option on every case in Chicago. The most recent of these strangler attacks was just 2 years before Duck's murder, so it's likely the same cameras used in this case could have been used to find the strangler, as a lot of these bodies were found near main streets. Main streets littered with traffic cameras and automatic license plate readers. But we'll likely never get a conclusion to many of these cases. And somebody did it, whether it was 2 guys or 10. But it's likely they're still in Chicago, probably living as old men, if they are indeed still living. But the city is a breeding ground for something like this to happen. And you know, there was a reason those Italian mobsters picked Chicago as a place to set up shop over 100 years ago. Never forget, Al Capone had his boys disguised as police officers line up 7 men against a wall and executed every single one, right on Clark Street. Because he knew he'd get away with it. The fake cops that actually carried this out still haven't been identified after 96 years.
Al Capone was a crazy motherfucker, boy. These the real gangsters. That's why I think it's just like a dark cloud. I don't know. Do your homework on Chicago Curse. Do your homework on the Chicago Demon. It's like, it's something going on in Chicago where it's like the Grim Reaper just holding on to the whole city. As soon as you get past the line, you good. In Chicago, it's like they just got the whole city in their palm of their hands. For I don't know what the fuck is going on. Probably some deep spiritual shit. But these niggas have been gangbanging in Chicago for 100 years, bro. The 1920s, bro. It's 2025, my guy. The 1920s. These motherfuckers been gangbanging, unaliving people, smoking people, all type of shit. It's crazy.
That's all I have on this one, as there's not much of a conclusion to come to.
It's crazy.
But as Hargrove also said, it's unlikely that 50 different men committed these 50 different murders.
Oh, for sure.